topic extremely close to my heart, and those who know me, I'm probably the person in Sergel that uses the word sustainability most during the day in absolutely every context. I spent the last 2 decades working with leadership and organizational development, and I've done it from the perspective of looking at underlying human mechanisms. You touched upon it, Ali, talking about AI, because we have all the tools available. We need to work with the company and get the results, but it all depends on us as people. And you see I've got an extremely lengthy title, not just because I love titles, but it makes perfect sense. Because we're not going to be sustainable unless our people do what is necessary, which is thus our culture. And whenever I talk about sustainability, this is a really famous, impressive painter in Norway that really sums up all my emotions in one painting. It's Scream by Edvard Munch. It really depicts all my emotions. I have a sense of massive anxiety, a massive sense of urgency, because we have spent decades talking, having all the best intentions. We haven't moved an inch, rather maybe in the wrong direction than in the right direction. We have masses of knowledge and information, but we're just not making use of it. We're still just talking. We're not walking the talk. And having worked as a political risk analyst in Africa, having lived, worked, and studied there in South Africa as well, my job was to monitor and assess the situation, what's happening out there, and how does it affect us. And looking at the climate changes and the impact on a continent, which done very little to really make the results we're seeing, the impact on the finance and economic situation and social sustainability are massive. I mean, Cape Town, first major city in the world to literally run out of water. That has a massive impact on their finances and their economic situation. They have, in 2023, 100 days of no access to electricity. Imagine what that does to the economy. They used to be the powerhouse on the African continent, not anymore. Now it's Nigeria. It has a massive impact. Yesterday, I read about the Panama Canal. It has such low levels of water that's really impacting global trade. That affects us. We don't get the goods in time if we get them at all. And it's not looking really optimistic for the Panama Canal, which opened, I think, in 1914. Come to 2024, we don't know if they will be able to get the ships through in the future. So for me, it's a no-brainer. Climate changes has an impact on our economy. And especially so, it's so easy because it becomes almost like an abstract concept. It's something that's happening somewhere else, not really for us. You know, I lived in Africa, moved back to Norway, the la-la land up north. But it will have an impact on our economy as well. And it's no longer just something happening far away. We see it on our own doorstep. Insurance companies have an exponential increase in insurance claims due to natural disasters. It isn't just something happening far away, it's right at our doorstep. And not only the climate changes and environmental impact and the financial impact, we like to claim in the Nordics that we're really, really good at equality, inclusion, and diversity. Sad to say, as a woman, if this is the best we're doing, I'm still not very impressed. We've done quite a good work on board members, but CEO positions, we're not really near it. Looking at gender pay gaps, imagine being an immigrant. These numbers are looking even far worse. We still have so much to do, and we're not really doing it. And the exam results are in. All these decades spent on doing absolutely nothing. I'm quite harsh saying that. But I mean, I have evidence supporting it. We've crossed 6 planetary boundaries. Again, Scream is such a great picture for what I'm feeling. Anxiety, a sense of urgency. Not just because of me, but more importantly, for these two, my 2 girls. I don't want that to be their legacy. What did we do? Looking them in the eyes 10 to 20 years from now. What did you do? Well, we had a massive amount of information and knowledge. We just spent, 4 decades discussing, should we do something? We had great intentions, lovely presentations, glossy slides, a lot of greenwashing. We bought some trees here and there and some CO2 things when we were flying, but we didn't move the needle, not nearly. So for me, sustainability has to be a game changer. And luckily, we have certain things helping us. You mentioned in AI, but compliance as well is really helping us and driving the agenda. It's not anymore about should we do it or not. We're being forced to. Transparency Act, the CSRD directive coming in for full. They're expecting us to do more and report on more, not just some certain recycling activities. It's not nearly enough, and we're getting help from compliance. Our customers, again, they are expecting us to be compliant. We have to report on what we're doing. And not only our customers, but we see consumers. They are much more conscious and expecting much more from the businesses. And they can choose who do they want to buy their products and services from. If we are to be attracting clients and customers in the future, it's not enough just to have a nice glossy presentation. You have to walk the talk as well. Our employees in Sergel are also driving the agenda. They expect to work in a company that are making the right sustainable choices. They expect to be in a workplace in 2024 where we are diverse, equal, and inclusive. If not, they can go somewhere else. We're not as loyal as we used to be just 20 years ago. I've noticed in the recruitment process for the first time that potential candidates are asking me, what do you do in terms of sustainability? No one asked me that 5 years ago. There is a shift here. New generations are coming in, and luckily for us, they are much more in tune and much more demanding from us, which is great. But then again, this picture pops up. It has to be a game changer. We are getting helpers, that's driving the agenda. But then I'm brought back to the concept of sustainability. And I find it really difficult to navigate and understand what does it actually mean. It's a jungle out there. We've had a tendency to look at the environmental aspect, which is necessary. But we now see we have to have a much more holistic approach. That means it encompasses absolutely everything. It permeates all parts of business. But then it becomes very abstract. What then is sustainability? And what can I do? What does it mean in practical terms? That becomes very complex. And what affects what? And it becomes a little bit of a jungle that's not really easy to grasp. It's not very tangible. And in Sergel, we've based all our sustainability work on the UN Sustainable Development Goals. We've included an entire organization in looking at the goals that are critical for us to work with, where we really have an impact, and the ones that are necessary. And with our colleagues, try to really unpack, what does that mean in practical terms? When I'm a debt collection agent, which activities do I do that contributes to these development goals? Which is great and necessary. With science-based targets, initiative certified, also great. Then there's still a jungle of certifications, concepts, definitions out there. So when we're meeting our clients, answering RFPs, we end up spending a lot of time trying to translate all the good work we're already doing into how does that make sense in your context and your way of understanding and reporting. Which again creates a sense of urgency, because we might just be ending up and succumbing to documenting and reporting instead of doing what's necessary to move that needle. So although this pains me a little bit to say, I'm going to say it anyway. I'm actually welcoming the CSRD directive. It's a bit of a change. I saw it and I had a bit of a hate relationship. I thought, yet again, another turn with trying to understand how do we fit into this directive and this way of reporting. But I think it's necessary for us, instead of spending time trying to figure out what do we mean by it, how do we report it, we will have a common understanding of what it is, what is required, a standardized ESRS reporting tool, which is great and necessary. It's also a tool that really takes into the whole double materiality assessment and takes into account social sustainability as well. But at the same time, it's going to require a lot of effort and resources doing that groundwork, mapping up what do we have already that answer to this way of reporting, and where are those gaps. And if you look at different, being in HR, I spent a lot of time looking at what's happening in the market when it comes to open positions. Have you seen the endless amount of companies seeking ESG experts, sustainability experts? That's because everyone now is scrambling in order to be compliant. You touched about it earlier. They will choose us because we are compliant. Well, now companies have to as well. But not everyone is prepared for it. Luckily, Sergel has spent, I would say, almost a decade working with We Care and making part of our DNA, implementing it in the way we do business. What does it entail? And I think a lot of that groundwork is really going to help us in the CSRD framework as well. Because in that, we have spent time looking at, okay, what is it that we do and how must we do business when working with customers and end customers and in the organization with employees, ensuring we can provide sustainable operations. And what does it mean in practical terms? We've unpacked what do we want to do for our customers, employees, and sustainable operations. And every year, when we're making our sustainability strategy, setting goals and activities, we need to see what is it we can do this year that are concrete activities leading to this. How can we ensure a retention-based value chain? How can we work with our end customers, help them settle their debts so that they can become customers yet again? Still providing that 5,000-year-old business that we're representing, making sure and upholding trust in the credit market. How do we work with our end customers? How do we identify vulnerable groups where we need to differentiate the way we approach them? How do we test different SMS solutions to see what actually works? That makes it understandable and effortless for me as an end customer, and making sure that I actually settle my debt so that you as a customer get paid for your products and services. You know, originally we thought the more information on SMS, just put it all in there and they'll be able to know what to do. What we saw was that, no, that makes it more confusing. It takes longer for them to settle their debt. Okay, but then we need to act. And that testing and experimenting we need to constantly do. And I think the work we're doing with AI will also help us in this picture. Working with bias awareness training, you touched upon it in AI, but that also goes for us as employees. How does that affect us in meeting end customers? And how does that affect us in, as soon as possible, make sure that end customer becomes a paying customer again? And not least, how do we work with our employees? You touched about the role of people and culture, and I think sustainability also really plays in there. How do we rig our organization so that we make use of the tools available? I think Teams is such a great example. We all had it. It was implemented. But when did we start using it? Only when the pandemic hit, because we had no other option. How do we create... I'm really proud to say we're one of the few companies in the Nordics that on a yearly basis measure what our employees feel if we are diverse, equal, and inclusive. When the results are in, we start working with them in the workshop. What are we doing well and what must we improve for the coming years? That for me is also a game changer. And it's important. And what do we do within sustainable operations? Because I think very often this is where we are. You know, we reduce our business travels, we have a travel system that measures the impact we have, we reduce electricity consumption, we do food waste, everything's in order, in place. It's very easy just to be up here. But if you remember, sustainable development is much, much more. So what is it that we can do to ensure that we are a sustainable operation? And for us, you know, speaking on behalf of people and culture as well, it also comes down to our people and what we choose to do on a daily basis. And what I'm most proud about when it comes to Sergel, and I talk about this in every possible setting, is this. I work in a company that understands that underlying human mechanisms are essential and key in moving the needle. That means mobilizing an entire organization. That means it can't be just me or Mattias in Sverige that drives the sustainability agenda. That's a lost cause. We need to unpack, set aside time every single year where we bring sustainability to the agenda with workshop with all our employees. What does this mean? What is sustainability in Sergel? What do you think we do well? And what do we need to do further? Why is sustainability important to me? Because we are not going to do anything unless it matters. You mentioned the gym. I mean, a perfect example of underlying human mechanism. If I have no return of investment, I'm not going to do what's necessary. Because we believe in the power of tiny gains. If we improve 1% every single day, I believe that's really a game changer, and I believe we really have understood that, and we're working towards that. And that's what's making us the game changer when it comes to sustainability as well. So moving back to my children, they are the ones driving it, that they are the ones making it important to me. So in 2024, I've started a project, and I quite often hate that project, because I decided I'm going to commute to work. And you might live in Stockholm and think, oh, great, easy. Well, I live in Norway. Our offices are quite remote. It entails taking the train and then the bus. And on a windswept platform in January with -20, I can swear to you, I'm always this far from just going and grabbing my car instead and driving to work. But that's not really going to help them in their future, is it? So I need something in that instant, in that moment where I just want to go back to the car to really make me do the effort that's required. And I understand that me taking the train is not going to revolutionize the world. But if more than 6 billion people think, okay, it doesn't matter what I do, then we're just going to continue that negative attraction that we're on. So it is about asking all our employees and asking ourselves, what is it to me? What can I do in my role in a concrete action? Why does it matter? So that I make the right choice and prioritize a more sustainable activity for a more sustainable future. Because we believe sustainability is a game changer. You're not going to have a competitive edge. You talked about AI and how many percentages are using it. We're not going to be an attractive company or employer in the future if we don't join that game and make it a game changer for us. So the question is, what makes it important to you? And who do you choose as your partner for a more sustainable future? Thank you for your time.
Just a follow-up question. First of all, I would like to say I'm proud to be in a company with so many great people and passionate people that help us continue to develop, but also to develop on a Nordic scale, not only locally in each country. So thank you for that. But there's a question as well.
Okay.
You're in the middle of the storm.
Quite literally, often.
Yeah, quite literally. But you seem to have found a grip on it. I mean, you talk about all these different systems. And I think you're most involved in all kinds of RFPs and companies coming to us saying, you know, answer these questions. But isn't it true that most of them are on environmental, right?
Yes.
And it's a lot about checking the boxes, making sure that you do your part in their ecosystem.
No, I think, yeah.
But can we be a driver to help them realize all the work that you have done here to change their behavior to encompass more of this sustainability thinking?
Well, I wish, because then we would start doing the right things. I think anything we do is important, first of all. I'm not like shaming those who don't go the full length. But I think one of the reasons why people also really quickly go to the environmental part is that it's tangible. It's easy to check the box on food recycling, measuring, okay, how much do we print? How much electricity consumption do we? What smarter solutions can we use? That's you know, it's easy for us to see and check. And that's, I think, also where a lot of the greenwashing has come in. That's been very popular to talk about. Okay, yes, you bought, you planted some trees as a company and you're supporting some bees somewhere. Great, we've done what we needed. And I think the other parts, especially the social sustainability part, is often a bit more difficult to grapple. What does that mean in concrete activities? And I think when I joined Sergel, I think I spent the first year just figuring out what are we doing and how is that actually sustainable, and translating those activities. When we work and base our entire employee and leadership development on job engagement, because we know from research that has a direct impact on the bottom line, a lot of companies don't do that. I mean, that's why I chose to join Sergel in the first place. And understanding that that's part of social sustainability is not as easy. Those dots are not as clear as having those boxes at the back there that says paper, plastic, waste. It's again what you talked about when it comes to those mechanisms at play. I mean, Sergel is only as sustainable as the sum of all the activities that each and one of us do. And that's not as easy to see. And I think we can help in the way we do talk and communicate and the way we write RFPs and help them see how we are impacting. But I think at the end of the line, if I'm being really blunt, and if I'm looking at the results so far, it's still very easy for the ones reading the offers coming in. Okay, it's easy. I can check the green box. And I think we're going to get a lot of help from the CSRD directive. I think that is actually an opportunity for us as a company to really showcase. And when I talk to vendors with management systems for sustainability, they're actually quite impressed with what we've done, the groundwork we've done on social and financial sustainability. And I think that directive and that reporting tool is really going to also showcase that work.
So our offer to all of you out there now, listening, our companies, call us before you set up your RFP, and we can help you write it the right way, right? So we're going to talk a little bit more about double materiality later in the panel. So stay tuned for that, as they say. It's a cliffhanger. But also I'd like to say that, Sergel has a strategy and a vision, and one of the cores that go across all the things that we're planning is sustainability, together with compliance, of course.